Welcome to the Wellness Frequency Podcast, a space for exploring scientific and metaphysical approaches to well-being. I'm your host, Carli, a licensed health practitioner on a lifelong journey to learn healing techniques from both the natural and seemingly supernatural worlds. Each of us has a unique blueprint and vibrational frequency, which requires a tailored combination of healing methods to unlock our full health potential. My intention is to help you find the insights that are most aligned for you and ultimately accelerate your healing journey. Thank you so much for being here. Let's dive in. Oh my gosh, we're just jumping in. I am here with one of my best friends, Rachel, today. I'm so excited. I am just off my game because I have not recorded since I moved to Charleston. So I feel like I have some explaining to do to everyone of where I've been. So I'll have a personal catch-up session. But let's just say we're just jumping in. Rachel and I met at it was a virtual practice mentorship program. And there was a bunch of people that Rachel and I just like tractor beam found each other. Like zoop, like we are friends, we are accountability partners. And we have come over the years to find that we are so similar and so aligned. So I'm so excited to share my friend with you all today. Rachel, will you just tell us a little bit about your background, like your training and how you got to functional medicine? And then we're going to get into some juicy stress support for my friends here and talk about cortisol and all the things. So I just want to hear about your background and how you found functional medicine.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to be here. Carli is one of my soul sisters, and we are literally the same person. I feel like sometimes we can complete each other's sentences. And when we met in that mentorship a couple years ago, I could just tell what she was asking and what she needed. So I just reached out to her behind the scenes. I'm like, here, let me give you what you really want. And she was so grateful. And it was literally no looking back from that moment. It was love at first sight. So, I'm super pumped to be here and share my knowledge and wisdom and expertise with you guys because I don't know about you, but there's a lot of suffering out there. And I just want to bring what I've learned and simplify it and just give it as a gift that maybe it could help you move the needle forward wherever you're at. I've been a nurse practitioner for 17 years. I was a sick child, so going from doctor to doctor, what the heck is wrong with me with asthma and allergies and rashes and, all this stomach pain. And my parents were tired of steroids and antibiotics and antihistamines. I mean, you guys know the show. If you're listening to this, you've probably been through hell and back with your own healing journey. And you just get tired of the same thing, different day, nobody listening, telling you it's in your head. More lab results, no answers, nothing's working. And so literally we went to some chiropractors when I was 15 and they're like, have you ever tried treating root cause? I'm like, what the hell is that? And that's when my life changed. I've devoted my life to figuring out root cause and really trying to help people get down to what's going to change that chemistry for them, what's going to help them get in alignment in the body, mind, and spirit. So 17 years in conventional medicine, 10 years in functional medicine. And now I'm just like holistic practitioner, diving in to meet my clients where they're at and just have really learned a lot along the way. So I'm super pumped to be here today and share that with you guys.
So excited. Two things came up when you were talking. One thing that we connected on is that you and I love efficiency. So that's why you are ahead in the program because it was like rolling admissions. So you're like, okay, You just want to get to the meat and bones. And that's what I hope as the more and more I record the podcast that I can really just give meat and bones to people because that's how I am. I want to be efficient. So we're going to make sure to be efficient today, but I love hearing your story. And I think you left out, you were in urology for how many years?
Yeah. So my conventional experience, hodgepodge of family medicine, urology, urgent care, women's health. And, that's just not my heart and soul. My heart and soul is root cause, functional medicine, holistic care, helping people really figure out what they need to really be themselves in this world and what that means, what that looks like. What is the magic thing that's going to help them shift into health, healing, well-being. And that's literally what I'm doing now, and I absolutely love it. I'm so thrilled that I get to run my own practice and bring what I know to my clients in a special way.
And you are truly such a heart-centered practitioner, and that's why I love that there's a huge shining heart behind you. It's so appropriate. So let's just get down to the meat and bones of it. You and I have talked about this on Voxer so many times. We are both working moms and we hold a lot. We are those type of people who are highly functioning, efficient. We can easily get into fight or flight because we want to do so much. We're so excited. We're so eager. And sometimes we're not maybe fully realistic as to how much can get done in a day. The perfectionism, right? We want to help people so badly. And our job, we are both root cause practitioners, really requires a lot of time and support and hand holding. And we also want to be very present mothers. Do you have 3 kids, right?
It's 3 children, yes.
Yes. And I know from watching you, they're all in traveling sports. And so you're on the road a lot, and your husband works full time, and so does
Mhm.
mine. And I have a wild toddler, and I have a 7-year-old, and we just moved. And so the theme has been, how can we live what we know, right? Practice what we preach. And I think a really big aha that I've been thrown into that you and I have talked about, especially this move has brought me to my edges of stress, is about cortisol and stress. And I think there's rhetoric out there that you think, oh, stress, high cortisol, belly fat, we all know about it, but I think it goes so much further than what we know. So, can you talk to us a little bit about what cortisol does and why stress is an issue? And I don't mean the kind of stress that's like, I'm financially failing and yes, financial stress is a thing, but I'm talking about the one that's not so obvious, where things seem good and you're happy and you're just really busy and like, why aren't I healing? And it's like, there are these other stressors. So I just want to hear you talk about stress and cortisol and how that's affecting women's health, basically.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of ahas in my mind as you were talking, because as women, mothers, caregivers, practitioners, um, highly successful women, go-getters, people who want to achieve and, help and give back, we have the weight of the world on our shoulders sometimes. And I don't know about you, but I came out of the womb ready to achieve. I was walking by 8 months. I was, achieving, thinking that was like a gold star. Well, then when you get to an adult and you have children and you want to be a caregiver and a practitioner and a good wife and a good sister and a good aunt and a good daughter, you're burning out every second, yelling at everyone, cranky as all get out, tired of saying you're tired, can't sleep, your hormones are a mess, you can't lose the weight, and you throw $5,000 at functional labs, another 5 to 10,000 on supplements, and you're still not getting the results that you deserve and feel like you should be getting. That was me. Okay? That was me. And I'm like, what is going on here? I'm a functional medicine provider. I'm smart. Good God, I'm smart. I've learned a lot. I've accomplished a lot. I'm ready to go in 1,000% and figure this out. Well, guess what, guys? That the answer wasn't outside of me. It took me on a journey inside of me that I was scared to go on, frankly. It's scary in there. You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, well, I got to take responsibility for where I'm at and what showed up. And until you do that, you're going to keep chasing down the labs. You're going to keep chasing down the magic supplement. You're going to keep chasing down the magic healer to heal you. And at the end of the day, it's that cortisol keeping your brain crazy, thinking that answer's out there. And to your point, that cortisol, it obliterates your hippocampus, the center of your brain that allows you to have emotional regulation, that allows you to have higher awareness thoughts. So guess what, guys? Good luck having a higher awareness thought when you're in fight or flight, chronic stress, the sneakiest thing that's happening there.
This is what I want to slow down and highlight. Cortisol chronically elevated shrinks your hippocampus.
Shrinks your brain.
shrinks your brain. So Dr. Aman, who studies brains, scans thousands of brains, works with celebrities, blah, 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 blah. This is something he talks about. He can look at someone's brain and say, oh, wow, you're in fight or flight. You are in PTSD, because there are parts of your brain that shrink and kind of sit lower than it should. And I think this is the aha that I want to highlight. The high achiever you were talking about, the doing it all, the dishes, the laundry, the successful functional medicine practice, the expanding your business and social media, being the marketing person, right? All the things in the mind. I was attributing that to me. I was just being me. I'm a very busy, successful person. That's me. What's wrong about that is that that's not me. Me is a really chill, intuitive person who likes to lay on her PEMF mat, have things done for her, get some help, have intuitive thoughts, run a business centered and calm. And I think where I was stuck for so long was blaming myself for like, why can't I meditate? Why can't I just, when I'm resting, why don't I feel rested? That really finally punched me in the face when stress got so high. I'm like, I'm doing all the things, Rachel. I'm so frustrated. I am taking care of myself. I'm going to bed at 7, right? Yeah. This is it. When you're like, I'm doing it. I'm trying to meditate. My brain won't calm down. Please stop blaming yourself. This is what's called being stuck.
This is called chronic fight or flight. That's the cortisol. Just call it. It's your brain chemistry.
It's the cortisol, y'all. It won't shut down. And we are not trying to demonize cortisol, right? Because cortisol's function, what happens if you have serious inflammation? You get a cortisone injection. Cortisol drops inflammation. We get this natural spike in the morning. That's healthy. That's normal. It wakes us up. It lowers inflammation. We feel good. And then it goes down and we've got this beautiful cascade. Well, most people, Rachel, you know this by running people's saliva cortisol, their cascade starts low. You're like exhausted. You're this like, I cannot wake up. And then what spikes right before it's time to go to bed? Cortisol.
Cortisol.
It's that
totally whacked.
It's whacked. So
whacked out your metabolism and your blood sugar and your thought process.
Yes, go into that.
So if you're not able to lose weight, you're getting, belly fat and you're just like, what is going on? I'm eating right. I'm exercising. I'm watching all the things and you're judging yourself because you can't get in your skinny jeans and you just want to pull your hair out. Guys, it's a hormone issue. This is not a calories in, calories out. I'm not running enough. I'm not walking enough. I'm not doing anything enough. This is not an enoughness issue. This is your hormones not communicating. Don't blame yourself. Okay? Just recognize when your body is not calming down. That's literally it. And I like to say, the nervous system is green, yellow, or red zone. And this is as basic as I can make it. But we want to live 75% of our week in the green zone where we're calm, we're compassionate, we're open, we're curious. We're like flowing with all the things. Our heart rate is normal when we wake up, not elevated. Our blood pressure is normal. Our digestion's working. We don't have to avoid all the foods and be on all the restricted diets and like really hate ourselves at every social event or, not be able to tolerate one sip of alcohol or anything. Green zone, things are flowing. That's where we want to be. Yellow zone is where most people are. That's high cortisol state where we are panicky, we're feared, we're worrying about all the things, we're overwhelmed, we're constantly raging or having irritability, anger, we're frustrated. That's when we start to see the heart rate go up, the blood pressure start creeping up, the insulin start creeping up, the blood sugar creep up. The doctor's like, well, we'll just watch it. It's pre-diabetes. No, guys, it's fight or flight. It's chronic stress.
Yep. I want to share real quick. I had a client yesterday, ran her blood and her glucose was elevated, but her hemoglobin A1C was beautiful. Her EAG, which is estimated average glucose, was beautiful. And so you look at this pattern, you're like, my blood sugar is high. But I was like, but look at the 3-month average. Look at, your food is good. Your stress, because she's 3rd year law school, works on Sundays, ministry. This wonderful, gifted human is nonstop. And I was like, We are in a
nonstop.
season. We are in a season, but this is your stress response. So, okay, keep going. So, yellow
Yeah.
zone is where most of us are.
As most of us are. And that's where we start to see these little signs. Our sleep starts to take a hit. We start to feel a little more tired at the end of the day or in the morning. We start to reach for that coffee and sugar. We start to get bloating and gas or constipation, diarrhea, because our digestion is the first thing to go in chronic stress. It gets an imbalance in our gut flora, and then people think we got, SIBO and all these other things. Well, guess what? You got to have green state, normal zone, so that your hydrochloric acid for digestion can be normal. In a chronically stressed state, it decreases. So the bad bugs that get into our system go into our gut and imbalance our gut. The adrenaline that surges through our body feeds those bad bugs and they overgrow. Candida, fructose intolerance, chronic bloating. Guys, this isn't a restricted diet issue. It's a chronic stress issue. My digestion was a mess for years till I figured this out.
I think this one is so big. I want to pause again. You're spitting so much gold. Rachel said it in the top of the call. We're saying it again now. When your gut, and you've done the GI map, you've done the MRT test, you've done food intolerances, your diet has whittled down to nothing. You cannot beat the bloat.
That was me.
This is stress, and it's become obvious. But I've been in this space. You and I have been in this space for so long. It's not that obvious. And now when people are talking about somatic body work and Psych K and network spinal and all of these subconscious belief, it honestly is where a lot of the gold is. Because if you can't get your subconscious on board with feeling safe, your body's your body
is the present moment.
Yes, your body is never lying. It's never
It's
broken.
always trying to keep you safe. It's always responding to what you're giving it. And, think of the iOS updates we do on our phone. The subconscious needs an iOS update, which can't happen in a chronically high cortisol state. It can't. Your brain cannot give you a calm, curious, open, safe thought because you're too busy reacting. I gotta feel safe. I can't. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. And then you start to see that in the body. And it gets really serious when you hit freeze and fawn mode. That's the red zone.
To go into freeze in a moment, but I wanted, before I forget this point that I think is also important. Being a busy mom who works is not the only way to get in fight, flight, freeze. If you have toxicity, trauma.
Toxicity.
Right? So that's the psychological, that's stuck in your subconscious. That is absolutely going to make your body constantly trying to protect itself. Also, if you are exposed to a toxin, what is your body going to do? It's going to shut down the healing process to deal with the stress of the toxic exposure. So if you cannot heal from some sort of exposure, that's where our root cause approach comes in. Because if you get to the one of the common root causes like mold or metals or parasites, your body can feel safe again. So this is where, if you've been dealing with this a long time and you've tried every test, this is about finding the right person to help you out of this. Because it's not about lack of you trying or that your body's broken. And man, I must have had to hear that a million times before I finally leaned into some things to see the needle move. But I just wanted to make that point too. If you have some sort of toxic exposure, your body will be in freeze mode because it's frozen from that physical stress. Okay, so top of this, it's green on the bottom, yellow in the middle. Most of us live in yellow. What happens in freeze? Because I think I touched freeze after this move recently, and I've come back and I'm finally feeling myself again. But y'all, freeze is a scary state.
Freeze and fawn mode are the Fs, and I call them that because they are literally F mode, FU mode. And it's when you get that feeling of I can't do this anymore, and you lay down or you look in the mirror and you can't stop crying, or you just have a come to Jesus moment where it's like a new level of rock bottom when you know what you've been doing just isn't working. And then you're freaked out of your mind because you have no idea how to get yourself out of it.
Helplessness, right?
Helplessness, hopelessness, trapped, shame. You're full of shame that you got yourself here. You're depressed. You're numbing out and avoiding. You're
Yeah.
keeping yourself busy to avoid this deep, dark, scary place.
The way that it manifested for me was overwhelm,
Yeah.
and resilience was rock bottom. So my mom would ask me something about like the calendar next week, and I would be like, are you I'd be so overwhelmed with that question.
Yeah.
And so I didn't feel depressed. I didn't feel um completely shut down. But what I did was I really streamlined work. I didn't have the capacity for much work, so it was my one-on-one clients. I stopped showing up online. I stopped being creative, and that was for my survival. I'm not. I think that was exactly what I needed to do. I needed to focus on my kids and my house. But
That's
that
exactly what you do to get out of freeze mode. You start to say no. It's the magic word.
Yes,
For the
it's a full
overachievers,
sentence.
overdoers, you start to say no. You start to say F no. Like it gets serious. And then you also start to look inward at giving yourself where you can give yourself some compassion, some grace, some kindness, which is a lot easier when your brain is calm. And we'll get to that with the protocol. But
Yes.
if there's nothing else you can do, deep breaths, calm, like kindness,
Yes,
and
like the simple stuff is
saying no,
overwhelming.
saying no.
Even working with the vagus nerve, so the nerve that goes from your brain, it basically attaches to like every organ. So you can stick your fingers in your ears and push down really hard. And sometimes I'll do that. My kids are like, "Mommy, why are you doing that?" I'm like, "I'm regulating," and I'll deep breathing. And it's good to show your kids this. It's good to show. Sometimes I'll scream in my hands. Like you can scream in your hands and have no one hear it.
Yeah. Or in your car when you're by yourself,
Yes,
or
because
go eat a
brain
pool noodle on the floor. Like you gotta like
is
get the
out of your body.
frustration and anger out.
Yes. And so we're going to talk about something you can do today because I think that's the big question is like, okay, I recognize that I'm in fight or flight. What can I do? We have a protocol we're going to share with you. But I also want to share two things that I did. I signed up to work with someone to do, I think I did like 3 months of Psych K. So I was working on my limiting beliefs and just honestly processing so much with this person who was acting like a therapist, but like somatic stuff. So I would do shaking and work, just learning to work with my body and get things out of my body and working with subconscious beliefs. And then also what has been a complete godsend. I hope to have Dr. Kate, my doctor, on here. She does network spinal. I think I've talked to you about that, Rachel. Network
Mhm.
spinal has been such a gift. And I got assigned myself up and my son for a 6-month program. And it's been nourishing my nervous system because this is all about hormones, cortisol, and nervous system. So
Yep.
that
That's
might
the key to health and healing right there.
and it has
That's
to
the
come
magic wand.
it has to come first. You and I were taught,
Has to come first, or you have the cart before the horse, guys.
yes,
It just
we
nothing will work good.
program we did. We've learned, listen, Rachel and I have done tons of advanced learning, IFM training, and the top of the game. We're learning from everyone all the time. That's like we're eternal students.
We're
And I think
very
that
committed.
yes, that one program you and I did, I think it taught to start with the gut first. And you and I were just like, we know that's not where you start. Like you don't start with the gut. You have to start with the brain. You have to start with the nervous system. And this is gold. But let us
I've lost count of how many gut protocols I've done. How many gut supplements, how many $500 whatevers. I've lost count.
because we didn't start with the nervous system. And I hope this lands with at least just one person because it'll change your health.
Yes,
It'll
because you and I both, we've talked about this a lot, that we didn't know we were really in fight or flight
because we just
because this was just us being us. Well, guess what? When you get tired of burnout, you get tired of saying you're tired, you get tired of feeling, numb or shut down or full of shame. You got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, what is happening? I've been doing all the things. Why do I keep ending up here? That road is well traveled for me, guys. I can overdo, overachieve, people please, overgive, over effort, balls to the walls any day, any day. That's how I was running my life. This new way where I start to open up to trust and flow and the unfolding of a beautiful life, this is very uncharted territory. How the heck do you do that?
we're athletes. We like to push. Give us the heavy lifting. Like we will be bulldogs all day long. That's like
Pit
my
bull, bulldog, keep everybody happy, don't disappoint. At the end of the day, there was a scared little girl running this show, and I had to give her a lot of love, but I wasn't able to get there until I did a lot of what Carli just mentioned with the somatic stuff, the deep rest, the stress reset protocol I'm going to talk about that's been life changing, and just being able to slow this brain down to even have a slower, higher awareness thought so my body could get into deep rest. This guy, woo,
we have such crazy, powerful humans.
carnival.
Stop. And I will tell you guys, the first time that you shut off the cortisol and you have like an intuitive hit, or you feel like able to slow down enough to sit with your kids and you don't care how slow or messy they're being, and you're like in the moment, that's your sign that you're healing. I've been having those moments where I'll just sit on a bench and I'm like, I could stay here for 5 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
a new me is
Yeah.
emerging. I've done a lot of work.
Because I had to belt myself down. Rest is not in my DNA. It still feels very uncomfortable for me to sit down and take a break. I feel guilty, like I'm doing something wrong. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Blah, 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 blah. And I just want to sit there and enjoy myself. Well, I've had to learn. I've had to train myself how to do that.
Okay, so Dr. Bob, give us a little. Let's give Dr. Bob some credit before we share this protocol. Dr. Bob's amazing. If anybody knows Emily Morrow, I think, didn't she work with Dr. Bob? And he's one of the instrumental people that taught her about Reishi. She's a really successful practitioner, and she's usually a pioneer in this field. So I just, and so Rachel is now close with Dr. Bob, and we've learned a lot from him. So you give it. I'm giving it over to you, Rachel. Talk about Dr. Bob.
Yeah. He's a world-renowned functional medicine doctor, chiropractor, nutritionist. His credentials go long, but he educates doctors all over the world. And he's been a practitioner for over 30 years, and he developed this stress reset protocol over 30 years ago because he was diving into the research and noticing this common theme. Maybe people would get better a little bit, then they'd regress, or they'd do all the things and then it would come back, or they'd be sent home to die and nobody could help them. And he noticed this common theme of this stress behind the scenes. And so he did his research. He discovered the L-Theanine, melatonin, and Reishi, which is a medicinal mushroom, not a psychedelic, just medicinal, because it does a lot of things. Those three things put together can work magic on the level of cortisol surging through the body and brain. Yep, and the body responds to dosing, frequency, and duration. And so he discovered that when you give it every hour on the hour for 7 to 10 days while awake, some magic can certainly happen. And it can go up to 21 or 42 days. I've had some clients who've been in fight or flight so long, they needed a little bit longer high dosing. And so we'll dive into that protocol. It's been magic, honestly, because it's easy to take a thing than to sit there and try to turn your thoughts off. When this brain is in cortisol, there's not much I can do to turn it off. I can deep breathe, I can go for a walk, I can take a cold shower, but it's still a carnival going on up here. Or if I wake up in doubt and shame and fear and all the worries and stresses are just bombarding me, I know that I've got that stress reset protocol to turn it off so that I can come back to my center and quickly get back into that green zone.
And I love, for, an efficient person that I am, that you could do this for a quick 7 to 10 days. This isn't like a 6-month protocol where you're like, in 6 months, you'll be a new person. It's like, no, you could be a new person in a week if you commit to high dosing these things. Let's talk about some of the ingredients. So,
maybe saying no a little bit during that week, just to give yourself a little reset and, give yourself a lot of grace and compassion. And it feels very weird. Like you said, coming out of a high cortisol state, I felt very weird the first time. I'm like, what is this new feeling? Why aren't all these things bothering me? They always bothered me before. Now I can leave a dirty dish in the sink. What? This is weird.
Yes. The quiet, like, why is my brain quiet?
Why is my brain quiet? Why can I focus? Why can I sit here and understand that this is the little scared girl that needs some love, that's really trying to make this decision? That's not really my wise, more authentic self. Like, I can determine who's trying to make that choice now because it's
Yep.
calm up here.
Yep.
Before, with the carnival, I'm just trying to survive
It just feels like so erratic. That's how it
and
feels.
just responding to all of the fires
Fires.
and
Yep.
all of the worries and all of the things. And you're like, whoa.
Yep.
And
Spaciousness.
spaciousness. And so that's what I've noticed out of this protocol. And I've seen it help chronic pain, bloating, energy, sleep, um, anxiety. It's just magic when people can get off their anxiety meds, off their blood pressure meds, off their chronic pain pills. Why? Because you're treating the root cause. You're getting the body out of chronic fight or flight. And it's sneaky. You don't know you're in it until you start to just say, I've tried everything else. I give up. Let me try this.
And I love that it's a tangible action instead
Yeah.
of, it's not fun to tell someone, well, your labs look like this because you're stressed. Like, there's nothing more annoying to say or probably hear.
Right.
But when you have an actionable thing, not just like meditate. Okay, guess what? If you're stuck in fight or flight, it's very difficult to meditate. Your brain won't shut down. So L-theanine is one of the unsung heroes here. L-theanine, when we have all these different brain waves happening, it helps regulate the brain waves, right?
Yeah.
Helps you get into the theta.
GABA and the, calm, good feeling, dopamine. GABA is a precursor to that. And, yeah, you can drink green tea. Yeah, you can go lift weights. Yeah, you can stay off electronics. But at the end of the day, there's some genetics involved here. We're not going to go test everyone's genetics so they know their COMT. But, there are influential factors in genetics on how we process our stress hormones. And there is a type. If I looked at people's genetics, there's a type that says, yes, you're wired to stress. You're wired to not process your stress hormones well, or you're wired to process them too fast. And so for me, L-theanine was a game changer because I processed my dopamine so fast, it wasn't sticking around in my brain. Other people might process it slow, which will keep them almost to psychoses. Literally, you can look at people's labs, low zinc, low copper, the racing thoughts, and it can be from this stress mess. They're not processing those stress hormones well. They're getting stuck up here, and it's keeping them stuck in that fight or flight, almost a red zone. And not much you throw at it's going to work. You're not going to be able to clear out parasites, metals, molds in that state. We've got to get a calm brain. We've got to get a calm down nervous system. Then your body will have the energy to move those toxins up and out.
That's what it is. The energy. That's why we work on the cellular level with the mitochondria and we drive energy into the cell for a detox program, because exactly what you just said. And your brain provides so much of that energy. Okay.
Your brain has to be on board because this guy right here is responsible for your stress response. And what you hate to hear that answer because you think you have no power here. You think you're just a victim to the metals, the molds, the toxins, the limes, the life, the trauma, the everything. But guess what, guys? In a calm brain, you can start to make sense of that. You can start to take a step forward because your choices for your self-care improve. And they can't without the energy, without the stress response being on board. That's the magic.
L-theanine, the second ingredient or, formula in this stress reset is Reishi. Now I have an entire podcast on Reishi. Rachel and I love organo because of how it's sourced and grown. You will be hard pressed to find a reishi that's actually grown in the woods on logs, organic, bioavailable. They have a patented way of extracting it. But anyway, reishi is a medicinal mushroom. Rachel said it's not a psychedelic. It's also not going to drive candida. Everyone asks me that, like, oh my gosh, I have candida. They say I can't have mushrooms. Medicinal mushrooms are in an own, like, they're almost a different food source.
Spores
right?
will actually clear candida. They're antifungal, antiparasitic, antihistamine, antiviral, antibacterial. I love them because they do so many things with one, or two capsules, and it wipes out a whole host of other supplements. They also are high in minerals, so nourishment, and they also help you awaken to your spiritual being. There are a spiritual,
Now
which
we're talking.
we can say here because we know we're a body, mind, spirit. If you're listening to this, you know that you're more than just what we can see and touch. We have more going on with us. And
Yep.
Carli and I often talk about what's the point of life, right? Are we here to figure out our worthiness or what? Because
Mm,
if not, the joke's on you, because I don't know why else we're in this life. We got to figure out who we are. We got to figure out how we're worthy and feeling worthy. And we got to figure out how we're loved and worthy to be loved.
yep. This
We
is like
can't do that in a fight or fight plane. And the
exactly
body won't respond unless this guy's calm.
none of the spaciousness happens for those higher thoughts, like you were saying.
That's right.
So we were talking about Reishi being a Swiss Army knife, and Rachel was giving you all these great, antifungal, but it's also in the context of a stress response. It lowers cortisol. It
Yes.
supports
Or boosts it. It depends what you need. It's very
oh,
adaptable.
an adaptogen, exactly. So
Mhm.
I like to say adaptogens are like a thermostat, right? If the house is hot and you want to bring it down, it'll bring it down. If the house is cold and you want to bring it up, so it adapts to you. But it's also a powerful anti-anxiety, and it can help with depression. So
Mhm.
Reishi alone,
ADHD, I can't say enough good things. It's safe, it's effective. It doesn't have interactions with meds. It's safe for kids, it's safe for elderly, it's safe with pretty much anything you're doing. And we use a company called Organo because they have a patented spore capsule that is magnificent. So we can go into that later too. Yeah, I guess you have a whole other
yeah,
session.
I'm gonna link everything with
Oh, good. Yeah.
like the all of these things. And then so just to finish out the stress reset, there's two options here. We're going through three main ingredients, but we're going to tell you about these very convenient drops in a moment. But so L-Theanine, Reishi, and then melatonin. So Rachel, tell me about melatonin, because melatonin we all know is going to help us sleep. But if you're taking it every hour on the hour, is that going to make people sleepy?
So here's the thing about melatonin. There's actually melatonin receptors on the adrenals. So they're actually effective for adrenal stress. Who's never heard of adrenal fatigue? Probably everybody listening to this has, or has had some experience with it, where you're literally whipping a dead horse. You've overextended yourself and you go to the energy bank and it's on zero. You're on E. And when you're on E too long, you hit the red zone. So how do we make deposits back into that energy bank account? Melatonin's a good option. Why? Calms this guy down. When this guy's calm, this all responds. And the magic about melatonin, people, there's controversy out there that say if you take it, it'll stunt your growth. If you take it, it'll throw off your circadian rhythm. But really, it's got anti-inflammatory properties, and it blocks that cortisol impact on that center of the brain that's responsible for emotional regulation and higher awareness thoughts, like I said before.
This is reminding me of a story. I have a client who we've been on a year-long journey to detox mold. She's doing fabulously, but she was suffering from really bad hot flashes in the middle of the night. She'd call them zingers and would wake her up. They went from like 90% bad to 10% after starting melatonin because of the adrenal response. And it's basically blunting that cortisol spike in the middle of the night that was
Mm-hmm.
causing her to flush. So anyway, it goes exactly in line with what you were saying. These
Mm-hmm.
three main ingredients alone are the core of what the stress reset looks like. And you do it every hour on the hour that you're awake. You dose these. Can you give general doses for people? And then we'll talk about the
Yes,
drops.
yes. And I will say about the melatonin, if you do have a leaky brain, you will zonk out with the melatonin dosing. So if you're going to do this protocol, you may want to go rent a cabin in the woods and just like go offline and do the protocol correctly. If you want to try to continue to work and go through real life with this protocol, that's why we have the release drops, and people just cut out the melatonin during the day. But rough dosing, just so you guys know, you can write this down: L-theanine 100 to 200 milligrams every hour on the hour while awake. And you can get, whatever brand. Carli will list some good brands that we like. Melatonin is 1 to 2 milligrams every hour on the hour while awake. And you can do this, like I said, 7 to 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, up to 42 days safely. That's all been, noted to be an option. And then the reishi spores are the magic in the box because they do the heavy lifting at the cellular level of clearing out the toxins, bringing back a lot of balance in the body, mind, and spirit. And they're 1 to 2 capsules every hour on the hour. The biggest side effects I've seen are headache with the spores because they're detoxing you. Drink more water, slow down your dosing. This is something that can be magical because you can take 1 to 3 doses. You can take, as scheduled, 10 doses, but just listen to your body. If you're moving too fast through the protocol and it's making you feel too sleepy or too sick or too something, just slow down your dosing. And you can use liquid form, capsule form, or the drops that we have that are very convenient. They also have a B12 complex in them that help people's brain calm and energy get higher. And, people have genetics towards B12 too. Some need methylated, some need adenosine, some need hydroxyl B12. So it's all in there. So if you're having struggles with B12, the drops might be a better option.
I really like dosing people with liquid melatonin so they can do as little as they want. So say they can't do a lot, but they could do like 1 drop. So
Yep.
I do a lot of times I'll do a liquid melatonin. But so
Yep.
there's 3 different, there's the Reishi, the melatonin, the L-Theanine. This is the core of Dr. Bob's original protocol. What
Yes.
I also want to share with people today, now it's February, I think Rachel has something that's only going to last a couple months because of overseas manufacturing is changing. But Rachel, tell about, it's kind of, it sounds so chachi, like a limited time deal. It's just they're only going to be around for so long. But there has been something developed. Someone tried to make the drops, the whole reset a little simpler and more streamlined, and they made 2 drop formulas to kind of streamline this. And this is just something I want Rachel to talk about while they're available for the next couple months. And then just the timeless version of this is the 3 separate formulas, but for, until like August of 2025, you can also do these drops. So share about the drops, Rachel.
Yeah, for people who don't like capsules or, like I said, need the B12, these drops are pretty magical. They don't taste terrible. I keep some by my bedside because they're magic. If I wake up at night, put a few drops into my tongue, I go right back to sleep. But the black label has the melatonin. They're the reset drops. So all of the same ingredients, melatonin, L-theanine, then the B12 complex, and then they have a couple adaptogens, lemon balm and bergamot. They are mixed in MCT oil and they can be taken a couple drops at a time, a fourth of a dropper, all the way up to a half a dropper at a time. But this can last up to 3 months if you're taking low dose. And I recommend these during the day for people who can tolerate melatonin. The pink drops, I did not bring one of those up here, but they're called release drops. And they have the L-theanine, the melatonin, or no, just the L-theanine, the GABA, and then the B12, the bergamot, and the lemon balm. And those are great for daytime use.
They work. I will say they knock
Yeah.
me out, which means I would have to be the cabin in the woods person.
Yeah.
So great for sleep. They are called Dr. Bob's Reset and Release Drops. I'm going to link both of these. I'm going to leave all of it for you in the show notes. And you can also reach out to Rachel or I. Rachel, I don't sell the drops. Rachel has the drops available. I don't. But I will link all of it. You can also DM me. I'm Wellness by Carli on Instagram. My email is carli@wellnessbycarli.com. Rachel, do you want to share your handles real quick so people can reach out to you?
Yeah, Rachel Headings FM, and that's on Instagram. My last name's spelled Headings. Rachel's Rachel. We can put that handle down there, but FM for functional medicine. And then rachelheadings.com is where you find the drops. And basically, with the manufacturing stuff, if it works out to get more, then there'll be more. But, there's plenty in stock to order some to try and see how you like it, especially if you don't like capsules or want to mess with 3 separate products. They're all in one. Carli's got to experience them when she was snowed in and was taking a week to reset. And great things have happened since you've done that. I mean, your energy has improved. The kids don't get on your every last nerve. I use the reset now as a maintenance. So when I travel, it is in my backpack. When the kids can't sleep or are having an anxious thought, they get a little dose. My daughter had a stressful event happen to school when she was 9, and she was having memories of that every morning and would be scared to go to school. So I'd give her a little bit of the release drops. She'd go to school just fine and have a wonderful day. For athletes, if you're having performance anxiety, you can do this protocol safely. I use the release or L-Theanine with my son and the spores. He goes out there and performs, and he just got his first D1 offer for football. And it's no doubt to me that he knocks down those anxious thoughts and can go out there and calmly perform. You think about test anxiety, you think about teens with ADHD anxiety, adults, moms, anybody who is just overwhelmed by all of the carnival up here. These are a safe, effective way to get things to calm down. Babies who can't sleep. I had a grandma reach out to me crying. She was so happy the grandbaby got sleep because of the reset drops. Just a couple drops under there. Baby slept for the first time in 2 years. And so I just have so many testimonies of a young mom with children. She tried all the things. She was doing all the functional medicine stuff, ran out of money because it's expensive, and was basically like, I need help. I'm irritable. I'm not being the mom I want to be. I don't know what to do. I said, just try this protocol. She texted me a week later. She's like, this is magic. I'm not yelling at the kids. I'm sleeping for the first time in years. And she started to have better digestion already in 1 week. And so, clients I've worked with before the protocol and after the protocol, the ones starting on the protocol first get faster, better results. I've had people come off their anxiety meds, off their pain meds, off their Cymbalta, like depression meds, because those can just make you like less of a human. And it's just kind of like, this is cool that it works so well.
It's really so nice to be able to offer a tool, because over the years as a practitioner, I've felt helpless when I can see the stress and I can see that they're fight or flight. But you only have so many tools. And before I had the stress reset to share with clients, I would just, you tell them to breathe, you tell them to get extra support. It
Go
feels a
meditate.
little, right. Go meditate while you're brain literally on fire. It just feels like you're a little bit helpless, and it also can be really frustrating, the clinical results that you do not get when someone can't break out. And this has been such a gift. And again, going back to the efficiency, I love, and okay, sure, maybe it takes 42 days, but that's not a year-long process. And if it
You'll
can
notice effects before that too. Like
yeah,
that's for people who really want to go the extra mile and build resilience, but you'll notice effects within a couple days.
it's such a gift. And so I'm so happy we can share this today. I love the idea of providing value. I feel like that's what you and I live for, is just, we literally live to help other people. That's our job. That sounds so silly, but that doesn't sound silly. It sounds a little like dramatic, but that's kind of what lights us up the most. We love results. We love helping others. We're very selfless in that way. And I want to continue to connect and serve. And I just feel like you got to share so much goodness today, and I really hope it helps people. I'm
Because we
excited. I'm
like
excited.
efficiency. It's like Carli and I, we want results yesterday. And if we find a tool that's going to help move that needle forward for you, it's so good to share about. And it just lights us up to bring it to you guys.
I did a tarot card reading recently. I'll tell you about it offline. It was not a great one. But what I will say is that she was like, "What sign are you?" I was like, "Gemini." And she's like, "Oh." She's like, "I love my Geminis, but y'all are very impatient." And I was like, in some senses, I think of myself as very patient. But then when she said that, I was like, okay, you're right. I want things done yesterday. Like my poor husband. I'm like, did you do that yet? He's like, you literally just asked me to do that. I'm like, oh, but I'm gonna do it if you don't do it. I'm like, I am. So we like efficiency, and this is efficient and it's gentle, which is really nice. The Reishi, I had talked about these Reishi spores. If I had this is like probably if I had one testimonial I was gonna like frame and put on the wall. It was, and I've told this in other podcasts, but there was a 5-year-old, I think he was 5 to 7-year-old boy, spiked fevers cyclically, went to immunologist, virologist. No one could figure out these and we're talking 105, regular
Very.
spiking of fevers. and they come to me and listen, like what we do is it's sure it can be complicated and high level, but it's also the basics, right? We get to the root of the food, the stress, the whatever. And so right away, I was like, Reishi, we're going to give this kid some immune support. We did a couple handful of things, but it was the Reishi. He never had a fever again. These Reishi, and it
Incredible.
sounds, no one wants to romanticize one product, but some things really do stay tried and true. And I don't have to worry about sharing them in a space like this because they're so gentle. And I will say the Reishi spores, they're the thing I go to. You and I talk about it all the time. When we get sick, we take them on the hour every hour. You could
Mhm.
surprisingly pass parasites from them. They're anti-parasitic. So you might be taking them for a virus and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, there's a parasite. There's some liver flukes. But they're working on the liver, they're working on the adrenals, they're helping you feel chill. If they
In the
sound
brain.
true, they almost are. And so I never go without them, especially when Ordano has a sale, which is someone asked me how often. I don't know. I
Maybe
don't think
3 times a year, maybe 4.
that's right.
I
Yeah.
usually stock up too.
You keep those on hand because
Yeah.
you can sneak them into smoothies. And anyway, so please share with us if somebody does this and has good results. We would love to pass on the healing. I love to encourage other people that way when they can hear an actual story of someone using it. But I hope this helps. Is there anything else, Rachel, you want to share about just like stress support, busy mom life? What's helped you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just leave you with this, if you feel like you're one of those people who aren't really stressed, you didn't really have a trauma laden life, you just kind of came out as into adulthood or motherhood unscathed, but you're still having bloating, low energy, doubt, shame, fear, low
Right.
energy, racing thoughts, anger, irritability. I'd like you to just take a step back and say, well, maybe I am living in fight or flight, because once I was able to take a step back and really start to address this inner world, it started to come out that the scared little girl, the one who needed to achieve to feel loved, the one who needed to people please to keep everyone happy and happy with her so she didn't feel like something's wrong with her, you know, that was the one that needed my love. And I wasn't able to give that to her until I had a calm brain, until I had a calm nervous system. And everything since then has been working so much better in my body. The health, the has just skyrocketed to digestive freedom, to more energy, to hormone balance, to better sleep, to less pain, to more energy. And I just can't stress enough that yeah, stress is boring and blah to talk about, and it's everywhere because we live in fast paced lives. We're not going to get away from it. All I can say is get your toolbox ready. Use the tools like this one to build resilience, to help your brain stay in calm, curious mode. Your happiness affects everyone around you, and your happiness is what you deserve to feel. It's your birthright, and it leads to you feeling more loved and worthy, and that's literally where our health and well-being come from. And so I just give you this tool with a loving heart and just hope that it blesses you as it's blessed myself and Carli and many of my clients.
I can't top that. We're going to end on that note. Thank you guys so much for being here, Rachel. Thank you for your time. You are my favorite, obviously. I love you to pieces. Um, thank you for coming to the Wellness Frequency, and we will see everybody out there and connect with us on Instagram. We'd love to chat.
Hi, everyone.